There was also considered adding some of these parcels in over here just to kind of, have a more consistent boundary. You can see the northern boundary of the city. A lot of it doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't know what the history um, was on that. So that's that was what was discussed before. I guess I should clarify that the orange that you see is the existing city boundary. Um, and it's also important to know that any annexation or changes to city's boundary would happen through the LAFCO, which is the Location Formation Commission, um, which normally there's a sphere of influence which the jurisdiction will adopt that kind of indicates it isn't adding the land into the boundary immediately, but it's an identification of where the city thinks they would like to. I didn't go back and look at the records, but city has not had a sphere of influence since I've been here. And I think it was a number of years before that. There was a sphere of influence at one point, but the city, for whatever reason, retracted that. So there is not a sphere. Now, if we move forward with an annexation, we would still need to do the sphere update process. So we could kind of do it at the same time. So I wanted to talk about sort of this annexation proposal, and I have another map where we could talk about updates to the sphere and possibly even some detachments from the city boundary. So I'll go over that. Feel free to jump in or interrupt me if you have any questions that come up. So this other sort of hatched area is the area that at this time I would recommend that we consider for annexation. So there's a few reasons. I think this 40-acre parcel, I haven't had a chance to connect with that property owner, but I think that there may still be some interest in being in the city. The same area that we talked about before for similar reasons, possibly more industrial. But I think there's a couple other things. One big piece of this, well, the remaining pieces besides what I've talked about there is really the Southeast Treatment Plant, which is about 500 acres. And then there's almost 800 acres that extend up here, which is the rest of the area that's hatched. So I guess what I would say about the sewage treatment plant at this point is I think we all understand and have an agreement that any additional oversight that we can have over the sewer system and special district's operation of the plant serves most of the city is probably in our best interest. Right now, we wouldn't have any influence over, any changes on that property if there was an expansion of the plant. They're not proposing stuff like that at this time that I'm aware of. I should say that this little parcel right here, well, it's actually not a parcel. I'm not sure why that happened, but a portion of the special district's parcel is included in the city boundary. But it is not associated with actually a parcel boundary. So I'm not sure why that happened the way it did. The rest of this is in single ownership, so primarily a vineyard development. And I was approached a couple of weeks ago by a developer who has done some other projects in the city that we've worked with before that is interested in doing a large mixed use planned development on that property if it was annexed in the city. Sounds like they're really only interested in moving forward with the development if it's in the city boundary and they get to deal with the city. So that's kind of the high level overview. I think based on some of those things, it may be worth us putting some effort into putting an application together and moving this forward to
How many homeowners?
two.
If it comes to a vote, it's a vote by the homeowner.
Well, there's a couple different thresholds. There's one that's registered voters, and then but it's the property owners. So I think based on this situation, because the majority of the parcels they haven't submitted a formal request, they're in the process of putting this property into escrow right now, so that isn't 100% finalized, but that would be a majority of the properties. And yeah, I'm not sure if this gentleman actually is registered. I think this isn't his only property, so I'm not sure he actually lives there. But we have probably two registered voters at that point.
So it's by registered voters, because that was the downfall of the South Lake Board.
I don't think,
Annexation.
I think it's considered uninhabited. If there's fewer than 12, I think there's a,
Oh, the threshold, if there's like.
yeah, I think this would be considered
Maybe
uninhabited,
you're right.
and then it's a protest process with the landowners.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't got super deep into all the details on this, because I want to know if this is something the council wants to pursue before we start digging into it real deep, but, the process would be that we would submit an application to LAFCO. LAFCO would, do some studies, analyze it, provide a recommendation. The LAFCO commission, would make a decision on the project, whether to annex it or not. And then there is all the avenues are a protest vote. It's just there's different thresholds depending on how many people live there. So
So you don't want to do sphere of influence at this time, you just want.
well, I wanted to talk about that. I thought it may be simpler, just kind of lay the groundwork with this, but if you don't have any questions or thoughts about this part of it, we can talk about the sphere. I mean, I do think that I think based on the process and based on the interest in the majority of the property owners here, it's probably going to be a little easier and more streamlined if we don't annex anything beyond this, really. However, I do think while we're doing it, it probably would be in our interest to add some additional areas to our sphere of influence that then could be annexed later.
Would be easier. Would be easier.
So by adding it to sphere of influence, how would that impact this? Or they wouldn't have there's no voting protest vote or anything on sphere of influence, so.
No, the LAFCO
damage.
just does a municipal service review on whether, you have the ability to provide the needed services to that
Right.
area. But only the annexation part of it is what.
Right,
has
okay.
protest laws.
So then, Dirk, you jump in here, but how about this area on sphere of
Well,
influence?
is there any more questions on this or
No.
thoughts? No. Well, so I really just kind of started thinking about this more. Initial thoughts on, so this is the part that we just saw, the same stuff. The purple are some recommendations on maybe additional areas to add into the sphere, but not annex at this time. I mean, I think if the city is going to grow in this direction, there's going to be development here. It probably makes sense to include both sides of Highway 53. And this would go out to the roundabout, but not north of it.
That's, I think is an important piece, because that's an intersection of two highways that just begs for.
One time, there was a
Sign on it, yeah. They had some.
At one time, there was a service station, I believe, in a restaurant, if I'm not mistaken, at what was then known as the Y.
I don't remember that one. Was it on the south side?
Oh, yeah, I think it was in that area
Was it where
where
the
the.
lodges?
In area,
Nice, yeah.
that area, yeah.
I believe it was way back in the 1910s before you came.
Oh, okay.
Only Russ remember.
I don't remember. I
But you respect your elders.
Oh, heck, he's not that much older.
Well,
I mean, in these areas, I mean, I think less important, there's no current development interest. I was just looking at ways to kind of make the boundary perhaps make a
Square
little
this-
sense,
square
square
this
this
off.
off. There is still access to some of this.
This, Is what Reed's Lane goes? Or are we on? Reed's Lane. Oh, okay.
I didn't really look at expanding other areas. I mean, from my perspective, I don't really see much development potential related to the city in this direction.
And then the gray one is the one they wanted.
Well, I think, there's a couple things here. I mean, the gray stuff is something that I think we could consider detaching. This is an area here that is, by the landfill. I don't see the likelihood of any development that would really need city services here. This is the old Provincetonia, portion of the Provincetonia development. Um, there had been some interest from those property owners over the years we've talked to about doing something there again. It's been a number of years since we've heard anything. I mean, my personal opinion is that the scope of development that was proposed at the time is not really feasible in this location without very massive infrastructure improvements. And if there's a housing development or something like that, this area here is much better suited for that type of thing.
Yeah, I got a drawing of a golf course.
But yeah, I mean, it was
Yeah,
it was tentatively approved at one point a number of years ago. All that stuff since expired. Of this here, again, like this is a portion of the state park that there's not going to be development out there. I have no idea why that's really in the city boundary. And then this section out here is like Borax Lake. I also think that the likelihood of some sensitive resources in that area that probably make it very unlikely for most of that to be developed.
there's lots that county lived already on.
Yeah, I mean, the Lamprey zone, still a number of those. I haven't talked to them about any of this, but
Is there somebody living in that area? Is there homeowners there?
It's not even, it's just paper.
Just curious.
so those are thoughts. I mean, I think back to your point, Councilmember Kramer, I mean, you could consider like doing something like following some of the existing development out along the lake shore further.
Yeah,
I
that dirt is. Mayor,
kind of right,
Plug is right on the edge of town.
depending on how you feel about, you could, I guess, detach his parcel.
Well, you're gonna get a bunch of voters there. That's a problem.
Yeah, that's,
You think we want the county to provide us
well, I don't know, has there ever been any interest from anybody?
all the way up to Windflower?
Yeah,
And
it just seems to me that, why not? Yeah. I understand this, it's all undeveloped hills.
Well, I mean, my only concern with adding too much is, I mean, and I think it'd be fine to add it potentially to the sphere and then we could, go through that process and see if there's interest. I just,
Yeah.
because there's active interest right now in, significant development here, I don't want to like derail or delay that portion of it, but I mean, this is something that we really should have been doing for a while, like thinking about how it makes sense for the city to grow. I mean, I should say I've been resistant to it in my time here.
I've been
because
pushing.
I felt like that there's,
I like the idea of going on the other side of the highway and,
Yeah,
that, I don't know if the ownership is over there now, but there is an underpass right over somewhere over in that area, which would make it perfect for whoever developing this to try to have the
I
other.
don't think it's big enough to drive a car through it.
No, you can't, it's a walkway.
but if I can finish my thought, I've been resistant to it because I felt like we have plenty of issues within our boundary to deal with. And I mean, that isn't changing, but we aren't going to be able to provide and meet the initial expectations the community has now for us in the city without some growth. And we do have other projects in process, but it is encouraging to see someone who we have worked with before and has an interest in doing a larger development.
So if we go to the application for an annexation, do we have to have some kind of plan of how to develop it, or just put a zoning on it that's, is kind of vague?
Well, I think it can be done a few different ways. I don't have the answers to all those questions yet. I did talk to the LAFCO officer initially about this. I think my current recommendation would be that we consider it to be a conceptual project, do pre-zoning, essentially based on the zoning that the county has out there right now, and try to move it into the city boundary based on that. And then, of course, we would have to go through the whole entitlement process. I mean, they are in the process of purchasing the property, but hasn't been purchased yet. So I think
The agricultural.
we need to work through. It's amazing. There's some rural residential, some agriculture.
Yeah.
But we would sort those details out and change that after.
What kind of zoning does the county have right there at the roundabout? Just curiosity, that zone any different than a?
I don't know. Happy to look it up real quick. Like,
Yeah, because that's, I mean, the county might, have some thoughts on, oh, maybe they're stealing a potential development, I don't know. But to me, that's a prime opinion.
If, I know Russ was talking about adding this, but if that's gonna slow the process, then.
I think we could probably add it into the sphere.
Sphere,
Not
But it
probably.
won't, it would not slow anything down then.
Well, I don't want to say that for sure. I mean, that's one of the things I would like for you guys to tell me is you like this or you want to add that in, but you can tell me that you want to prioritize not slowing it down, and we can start working on the process, and then I can come back and give you updates as necessary.
And, absolutely, we don't want to slow the process of what, if we want to end it. So then,
Question. Does changing the boundaries change change like responsibility of the fire departments?
And so they have their own boundary, and they have to go through the same process through LAFCO if they wanted to change their boundary.
It doesn't.
So, I mean, it doesn't right now. They serve a lot more than the
Exactly.
actual city boundary, but yeah.
It's not a city fire department, so.
I just wasn't sure if
No,
they,
that's a great question.
that if their responsibility areas fall on our boundaries, then it will change the type of land that they're gonna have to.
the county fire protection district takes in Lower Lake or Jangle Bay, goes down the land.
All the way to the edge of the river.
So then what about like? What is
It
that?
goes, I
Is
don't think it goes clear to Highway 20 here. I think it's somewhere in this area where on North Shore cuts in, but it does,
It would be good to
Certainly
put that
includes
line
all
on
the
the top so you can see.
in fact, they have a department, they
Yeah.
have a house out here.
Yeah, they have a little station over there. It's
Station over
not pipeline.
I think they have a
They have an old
engine,
truck.
old engine in it.
Yeah. That's how far Golden State serves. They have a faucet there. They use
Yeah.
still water on
We're on TV.
it. Sorry. Oh, I was thirsty.
Well, so as far as zoning right now, it's either all rural land or rural residential, even out here.
Even
That's
that,
basically, this is kind of like rural residential.
right next to the. Okay. That's good to know.
The county's fire district layer is so.
Yeah, they have a bunch of big ag wells there
Yeah.
on that vineyard. So
I was thinking that's the other.
because that would be, and that, Highlands can adjust their district just the way they want to, really, right? We found that out.
Well, I did have a meeting with the general manager to talk about this, and
I mean, it was,
he's from his perspective, they would be very interested in serving here.
Because they can, you know, to treat that water that comes out of there, there's a lot of it, you know, on wastewater. And we don't have any wells anyway.
No,
You know, those big apples that probably go down 300-400 feet. Because remember, we had some conversations when Ogden Canyon was talking about an expansion that they had wells going deep with tons and tons of water.
There's one. I think right, where's that big building here? There's a well right in this area, or like over this area. Yeah, it's a big well. And water should answer your question. County Fire Protection comes with version of Clearlake View,
Goes all the way to the Rivieras.
and not quite over here before, I know.
Yeah. Because I got permission from Willie to do a fire property beyond there. And I got berated by the Kelseyville Fire Department.
Take a joke.
Anyway, so I know it's right at the edge of the Rivieras. I'm sure it goes.
And it goes out like that.
So I think the best approach is just go for annexation for that. And if it doesn't create any additional complications, to add these purple parcels in the sphere of influence.
I agree with that.
I agree. I agree with that. The area out there, I just,
Got here.
no. Like,
This one, this sounds complicated.
Well, I know how far out it is, so like for patrolling, is like we're gonna need more officers, maybe because it's a 20-minute one way out there.
That's why I'm just suggesting that we do spirit of influence at some point, see what it, see how it grows.
Yeah.
I mean, from the residents' perspective, I mean, we could respond with the current staffing a lot sooner than the sheriff's office.
Sure.
We're going to get out there, but
There's one sheriff's department that lives there.
Yeah, that's right. This road to the west is.
so are we saying we want to leave
I
that
think
alone for now? Or
I think if it doesn't take it, you can go ahead and put that in the sphere too.
How far out do you?
Want to go all the way to Windflower?
Around to here. No,
Some roads to maintain.
I know, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I know.
I think spirit of influence, if it doesn't impact, it doesn't hurt us anyway,
Yeah.
why not?
A little bit further, maybe we'll look at that and see. I mean, I don't know that we want to go maybe a little bit further.
Take both sides of the Lake Shore.
And make our boundary.
Well, that's the one thing I might suggest is from Gooseneck on the north side is in the county.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
So,
that's, you know, we provide services there anyway. That was meant.
and,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, that's all still in the city until you get
Sounds
right there, but I guess
Lake
by
Shore
It's
is.
kind
Yeah.
It's down in the city.
He's the one.
So
Except the last house, right, I think Russ Purdock's place is right after.
Russ is in this, obviously, in the city.
Yeah, but on
Right.
the south side, but not on the north
The
side.
south side, yeah.
None.
Actually, Russ has got property in the north side. Up for your
My barn is.
mornings.
But I mean, most of that is up the slope that it isn't going to have any growth development.
Well, there's
There's a
there's
few.
just in here would be the only place.
That's,
This goes.
but Kyle going up the hill, but if you go a little bit farther, for that guy if you go Calaveras, you go north on Calaveras, right at Lake Shore, there's some houses there. It's the guy that works for, Golden State.
Yeah.
Arcadia.
our
He owns
friend,
by-
the one that came in and did the
Here- here-
demonstration here. I remember that one well. Well, I knew I was gonna come to a guest.
Um,
I was actually moving.
Yeah, he hasn't.
So, okay, so you're interested in looking at going out a little bit farther. We'll probably circle back on that, depending on the process. What are we thinking about cost of attachments?
Detachment, you know, this hills.
Any of the gray stuff or?
And those still over there.
Yeah, well, there's one state park. And then
What's your thing on that?
My only thing on here is that this is close enough in where potentially, and it's not steep, that it potentially could be acreage lots. I think there's 18 lots. Everywhere.
Right, I mean, this obviously doesn't change whether someone can develop their property, just
Well,
whether there's a need for any city services. I mean, on that, like, I'm not necessarily pushing this, I just think it's good to talk
You do it
about. I mean, I can
all.
talk to, the property owner out there about what their plans are,
That
whatever.
would be good. All of this is one owner, I think.
Yeah. The guy that owned Baldy.
No, that's Tony Lamberti. They own Baldy. He owns this
I
too.
mean, the Bluth Ranch is owned by Jim Purdy, who owns like this, and then basically everything up here till you get sort of to the reservation, and then it comes back up in here even.
So, just a question. You know, they've been talking about geothermal kind of stuff in that area. Is that gonna be an issue for the county?
Yeah, again.
Are they talking that they're thinking of doing some geothermal stuff here?
Well, I mean, there has been some preliminary discussion about here.
At this point? Yeah. Well, there's,
Well, I mean, you're asking Russ specifically, but Russ owns personal property right there, so you really shouldn't be.
no, sorry.
It's
My opinion, we should detach that infrastructure to go in there. It's damn road. Have to be a 4-lane road.
They have to do a lot of work in here. That's they actually, back when they were developing this history, they got it right away from us. Came in,
18.
no, it came in and then it was supposed to dive south into this property that's now owned by our friend Chris. But it was owned by somebody else at that time, and they thought they could buy it and then come in and hook to one of these streets. But then Chris Jennings wanted it. Chris has no intention of selling the right of way through here. So they got a right of way that comes through our place. Their plan when they were developing it was to bring in another street.
Yeah, because it had to have it.
Yeah, rather than down road. But that's dead horse.
I don't think access to 600 homes or whatever they were planning at the time on the existing dam road is
No, it would not have worked.
not one.
That's why they bought the right of way.
I mean, even, but still, that wasn't gonna be a primary access point probably, and even just that, half of those people using dam road on a consistent basis is not gonna be adequate.
The idea at that time was to bring the utilities also into there. And his idea was to put a pocket sewer plant in here and not hook it.
So
That's history back when I was a big.
from a utility base, that's the place. And it's being,
See that?
there's two. For instance, annexation, you have a source of water, you're pretty near to the treatment plant.
Access.
And access is, you have to deal with Caltrans access. Couple more roundabouts, like roundabouts, and
Things like roundabouts.
They slow the traffic down, I like them.
They're very expensive these days, though.
Okay,
this, do we have consensus? Do we need?
So, yeah, I'd like to, not sure we got very much clarity on the detachment part, but
I don't think we should be taking action on attachment or discussing it.
why not?
It's completely separate from annexation, right?
I would expect it to be part of the same application.
Okay. Well, we can't take a formal vote, but. You know,
This is just
I
consensus.
like this.
just express your opinion.
Yeah, it's not as seen, I think is. Good.
Okay.
How do you feel about that? Is it de-annexation? What's this called? Detachment. Detachment, thank you. I think it's okay. Most of it out there is borax and. What about those other? Steep hillsides.
There's a state park area.
This is a swamp.
Yeah.
It's that area behind the church. Up there.
Swamp.
There's not others.
So I mean, on that one, it sounded like you're okay with, I could talk to the property owner a little bit about their plans on the stuff on this side.
It is, yeah, that would be my only thing.
I had a next.
Well, I was just gonna say, one thing that got me thinking about the attachment was the, analysis on providing services. It may streamline the annexation process because these areas identified are basically slightly over the number of acres that will be annexed, and so might be able to look at it as some type of kind of trade-off.
With another question. The gentleman that wanted to have the city annex just east of Auburn Canyon. Is he still the same owner or?
It is still the same owner, yeah. We haven't talked to him for a while, so.
Is that something
I
we
mean,
need to look at? In case he wants to,
I
at
mean,
least put other,
maybe
maybe
to check in. I mean, they did ask because
Wrap your sphere of influence around.
Yes, yeah,
they were frustrated with the county permitting process, but I mean, I think all of the cannabis permits is
kind of right.
essentially stalled out at this point anyway, so, but we could check in.
They
Yeah,
do
at least
have
they-
4 wells they have. Remember right?
Yeah. In case they're interested, at least in the street, or if that's.
They
Doesn't
were
mess up.
sometime talking as, instead of cannabis, some.
Go back to hops.
Industrial too. We had some conversation with it, I'm trying to remember that. As their backup land, cannabis.
That's the only suggestion I have to check in it. Put it in this radar good point.
What?
Do we have a consensus to move forward with this, Brown? Suggestions? Abby? All good? No.
I mean, unless you want to include Lower Lake too.
Well, no, I know that Becky wants to have the school in there, but
I'd have to be good myself, right, too.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
all right, thank you. Thank you all for coming. Madam Clerk, a roll call, please.
Councilmember Wilson,
Here.
Councilmember Hooton,
Here.
Councilmember Kramer,
Here.
and Mayor Slotin,
Here.
and Vice Mayor Downey is excused absence.
Okay, and to. Now, Kramer, could you please start? I do allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Please keep standing. A moment of silence for the servicemen that have perished in the Iraq conflict. Thank you. Okay, thank you. You may be seated. Okay. All items on the agenda will be open for public comment before final action is taken. Citizen wishing to introduce written materials on the record at the public meeting or any item are requested to provide copy of the written material to the Administrative Service Director, City Clerk, Madam Swanson over there, so that the information can be distributed to the City Council prior to the meeting. Speaker must restrict comments to items as appear on the agenda and stay within 3 minutes time limits. The mayor has a discretion to limit the total discussion time for an item. Council cannot answer questions or provide comments while a citizen is giving public comment. Thank you. At this time, please note that if you're on Zoom, that only written comments will be taken via Zoom using the Q&A chat feature. Yeah, please enter your comments in if you have any in that chat box. Madam, Mr. City Manager Flora, have we any changes to the agenda?
No modifications, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, can we have a
Mr.
motion?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to accept adoption of the agenda as presented.
I'll second it.
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
All right, we'll go now to public comment. This is the time for any member of the public to address the city council on any matter not on the agenda that is within subject jurisdiction of the city. The Brown Act, with limited exceptions, does not allow council or staff to discuss issues brought forward under public comment. The council cannot take action on non-agenda items. Concern may be referred to staff or placed on a future agenda. Please note that comments from the public will also be taken on each agenda item. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person. The council cannot answer questions or provide comments while a citizen is giving their public comments. Once your comments are complete, the mayor may refer you to staff. I have a couple of people here that put. Okay, we'll go to Crystal Pack. Please come forward, state your name.
My name is Crystal Pack. So to start, okay. Mayor and members of the council, my name is Crystal Pack. I am the attorney in fact for Trudy Brooks, the owner of 3642 Sycamore Street. I am not here to ask the council for any favors. I'm here to formally submit into the official archive of the city of Clearlake an omnibus reservation of rights and a notice of intent to litigate. I am here documenting a 4-year campaign of systemic municipal harassment and a history of due process violations and blatant violations of our constitutional amendments. This property had 2 prior cases closed in 2019 and 2020 with the exact same utility conditions you claimed were a hazard in June 2021. During that entire time, this property was locked in probate following the death of Trudy's son, David, in 2018. Probate did not even close until 2021. This whole thing began when a general animal control call was used as a pretext for Officer Peralt and Officer Lopez to attempt a warrantless search of a locked gate. They stated for the record that we were going to quote or that we were, quote, hiding something and made it clear that if we didn't unlock the gate, that the house was getting red tagged. I was being punished for exercising my Fourth Amendment rights. I stood my ground and they retaliated by tagging it. Even with the retaliatory tag, I did exactly what I was supposed to do. I pulled a homeowner builder permit that was for that 2021 case and passed my building inspection in 2022. You're blatantly, your own files document continuous progress on a house up to this very date, yet you blatantly ignored the progress. You ignored the past inspection, kept issuing citations for a hazard throughout 2022. When the inspection was brought to your attention, you changed it in 2023 and added inadequate, just kept sending the citations for things that were already signed off on. Continuously throughout the case, city staff has reached over a 6-foot fence to take photographs. Most recently, your staff was caught on camera stating that they did not need a warrant because it was a red tag property. That is a lie. A red tag does not waive your Fourth Amendment rights. To manufacture a default, you've moved into procedural fraud and selective prosecution. On February 17th, you posted a notice on our vehicle with a deadline of February 27th. Directly across the street sits an unregistered, inoperable vehicle that has been stationary for over 10 years, even through recent road paving projects. Yet for us, you showed up to enforce on the 23rd, 4 days early. I was in the driveway that day specifically to fix the abatement. On top of that, you sent a notice to Flint, Michigan, ignoring the 10-day mandatory extension under the CCP section 1013. You were enforcing on the 23rd, but the mail didn't hit our hands until the 26th. This is a due.
Thank you, ma'am.
Wow.
Next one is Miss Kathy Plowman.
Hi, my name is Kathy Plowman. I live in Clearlake and I'm here I'm going to be you guys' worst nightmare. I'm going to be here all the time, reminding you that needs a shelter down there, a proper shelter for anybody to run the animal control. And so until that's done, the animals are not getting the shelter that they need. And I had meetings, and I'm not going to say names and stuff, and of how much it would take to run that shelter down there. This person said that because I was going with North Bay because they seem to like North Bay. So I thought, if you guys like North Bay, they must be doing a good job. That's my fault and stuff. So what happened was this person said that somebody submitted, we know who it was, $420-something thousand, and that they could not do that and run that shelter on that amount because this person sat down and figured out it would start at $500,000 and go up. There's no way to run that shelter on $375,000. So the person that's running it now, Charmaine, and I wish her well and stuff. I hope that the one good thing she did, she only signed that contract for 1 year. I hope she goes after you guys. I hope that she asks for at least $600,000 next year. You guys better come up with it because I think she's going to get it because there's nobody else that's going to come up here and come up to this, excuse my language, this shithole and take care of this mess that we've all been party to. Nobody has built a proper shelter down there. Nobody's done anything. You guys all say, oh, I love animals. You love your animals, but you don't like anybody else's animals and stuff. So we need to build a shelter down there. We need to stand behind the person that's doing it now. We need to get this done and we need to move forward. The animals and children are my #1 priority and stuff. When I moved up here 27 years ago, nothing's changed. Still the same crap for animals. So I'm hoping that she gets what she deserves. And if I was her, I would ask starting $600,000. And they actually need more than that. I mean, if you guys watch what happened down there at Petaluma and stuff, they were talking about starting at $800,000 going up to over $1 million. And so this never should have came to this. This is horrible. Absolutely disgusting that we would treat our animals like this. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Next person is Justine Beatty.
Hi. Well, this is, I'm going to try to keep it under 3 minutes. I'll start by reading what I've got written here. Good evening, Mayor, council members, and thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. First, I want to acknowledge the sincerely thank you, the city of Clear Lake and staff, the city council and community partners for the work that they have already done, making meaningful improvements to our roads, parks, Austin Park, for example, and also creating bike lanes throughout the city. It's made a huge difference. The sports complex that's underway, all those things are wonderful, and I'm very grateful to see that happening. I realize it takes a lot of planning and coordination, and I appreciate the work and effort that's gone into that. These investments matter, and they reflect a genuine care for the quality of life in Clear Lake. I'm here this evening to introduce an idea that builds directly on that progress, the possibility of Clear Lake intentionally becoming a slow town, a city designed for people to walk, bike, gather, and live safely, not just move through quickly. I'd like to briefly share why this matters to me. I moved to Clear Lake in 2005 with 3 young children, and I quickly learned that they are not safe walking to the library, to Red Bed Park, for Little League, or even riding their bikes to school. This experience stayed with me. Today, my children are adults raising their families of their own, and I feel a responsibility to create a safer future for them. I currently work at Adventist Health, and where I've seen the consequences firsthand, the serious injuries that are suffered by residents walking or using wheelchairs who were struck by vehicles. Seeing those injuries has made this issue urgent for me. I've also been a small business owner in Lake County since 2005. And over the past 8 years, I've had an opportunity to spend a little time in several walkable communities. From both a health and economic standpoint, slower, people-centered streets consistently create safer, stronger, more vibrant towns. At the heart of becoming a slow town is something very simple: reducing a speed limit citywide from 35 miles per hour to 25 miles per hour. This one change can significantly improve safety for children, seniors, people with disabilities, cyclists, and drivers alike. Slower speeds reduce the severity of accidents, but they also change how the city feels, making streets more welcoming and less intimidating. That said, this idea only works if we have community buy-in. If people don't understand the reason behind slower speeds, the deeper benefits may never fully materialize. But when residents understand that slowing down means safer children, fewer serious injuries, and healthier neighborhoods, slowing down becomes an act of shared care rather than inconvenience. I'll come back next time and finish.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody in the audience that wants to come up and speak? If not, anybody on Zoom, Madam Clerk?
There are no comments on the Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
All right, then we'll move on to the consent calendar.
Oh, I think our animal
Oh,
control.
Already Sean.
contract.
This was your time, public comment.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. We'll start with our adoptable dog of the month. This is Lemon Squeezy. She's about approximately 1 year old, spayed, microchipped, fully vaccinated, good girl, crate trained, good with other dogs, unknown with cats. Oh yeah, and kids too. Looking for a home. And she's fostered by Greg right now, so she's not technically at the shelter. But if you would like to meet her, we can make arrangements to bring her down. Can't see her, you gotta go over there. Oh, just you, this way, in. Here she. About 45 pounds, she's a good medium size. Likes to ride in the car too. Good girl. Okay, that's it. So here I'll continue with our statistics. And so this is going to be from February 8th to today. We just kind of combine everything. In the future. We'll do it monthly. And I know that there are some specific things that you guys are asking for that I'll format at the next meeting. It's just kind of a lot tonight. So starting from February 8th, our total intake from North Bay Animal Services was 113 animals, 111 dogs and 2 cats. I think you all know, about the poor records provided and the challenges caused by that. Lack of names, if animals were male or female, medical history, clear photos of the animals, and no documentation of things in foster to adopt that are, showing up at the shelter now, looking for the services of spay and neuter and finalizing those adoptions, or not wanting the animal at all because they thought they were just fostering. Okay, so our total intakes from February 8th to today are 170. So 57 are not including North Bay Animal Services animals. Owner surrenders 7, 6 dogs, 1 cat. Stray surrenders 50, 34 dogs, 15 cats, and 1 chicken. Non-live intakes, we had 11 DOA. Outcomes are 118. Returned to owner 7 dogs. Transferred out 92 animals transferred out to partner rescues, so 83 dogs and 9 cats. I'd like to thank the 11 partners who made all of this possible. Roanoke Park Animal Services, We Care Animal Rescue, Marin Humane, Dogwood, Humane Society for Inland Mendocino County, Sonoma Pets Lifeline, Mendocino Coast Humane Society, Azaya Ranch Sanctuary, Countryside Rescue, Sonoma Humane, and Lake County Animal Care and Control. We had a few unassisted deaths in custody, 3 neonate kittens that just failed to thrive. Euthanasia, 16, 12 dogs, 3 cats, and 1 chicken. We can move on to some good news. Animals currently in care. On February 8th, there were 113 animals on site. As of today, there are only 45 animals at the shelter, 44 dogs and 1 cat. It says pause for applause on here. Anybody? Thank you. 19 dogs are off-site or in foster homes. 2 are receiving medical attention at veterinary offices. 16 animals are in our foster homes, 3 dogs and 2 cats. And there are 11 pre-existing dogs that were in our program before the contract. Let's see. We're currently still working on building our foster and adoption program, putting in processes and legal things. We have our vet of record, Dr. Bennett. So we're working on those protocols to be a legal and successful shelter in the future. We have given out 165 vaccines alone just to the shelter animals. We're not, we will get there, but we're not able yet to provide vaccine and microchipping clinics to the public, but that will come. Let's see, bite reports. We have responded to 15 bite reports since February 8th. That's all I have, unless you have some specific questions.
Thank you. Yep, please.
One question. I actually had a couple, but I'm going to skip one. You mentioned the Dr. Bennett. Who is she?
Dr. Bennett, Jennifer Bennett. Yes, Jen Bennett. She's our vet of record. So she essentially holds the premise permit for the shelter. So it legally allows us to treat animals with her protocols in place. So upper respiratory infections, diarrhea, and things like that. We don't have to take an animal to the vet clinic to be able to treat those things in-house. We can order medications under her at cost, to be more efficient and effective in real time. No delays for care. So we were, just going to the vet clinics for spay and neuter. We're able to give our own rabies vaccines under her.
Good.
Thank you.
Councilman.
For the 15 bites, what were the results of the bites? And I'm specifically interested in whether people ended up having to get the rabies shots themselves?
I don't know if anyone specifically had to get the rabies series. I mean, none of the dogs have rabies.
Okay,
Um,
so that means you identified all the dogs.
yes,
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate that,
no problem. Thank you.
the handout. Thank you.
You're welcome. There's plenty, I can run any report for anything that you can think of. It's amazing.
Thank you, Sean.
Appreciate it. All right.
Thank you,
now we-
Greg.
Go ahead. We move on now to the consent calendar. Can I have a motion
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Mayor.
or somebody wants to pull any of the items?
Yeah.
On the council or on the public? If not, can I have a motion?
Now I'll give a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second it.
Yeah, we can vote in our portal. We do. Okay, how we doing, man? Vote.
Motion passed with the unanimous vote of the council.
Okay, we'll go now to new business or business items. Number 5 on the agenda, consideration of information and updates from the Lake County Air Quality Management District. Mr. Flora.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, council members, I'd like to introduce Doug Gearhart. He's the Air Pollution Control Officer for the Lake County Air Quality Management District. And I asked him to come and first talk a little bit about the district's hotspots report. He did a presentation to the Board of Supervisors a few weeks back. And then once he's done going over that, I have a couple other things that we'll try to address, but take it away, Mr. Gearhart.
Okay, thank you. Doug Gerhardt, Air Pollution Control Officer, of course, Lake County Air Quality Management District. I have my air quality engineer, Nathan King, with me. So we have all the technical stuff covered. So anyway, good evening, Mayor, council members, staff. It's good to be here. We haven't been to a city council meeting in a long time, so I'm glad that we're able to come and present to you today. And I just want to say that I would be happy to come back and give you a general update on the district as a whole at some point in the future, if this council so desires. So we can arrange that with your staff. So
Great. Thank you.
yeah. So to get started with this, the Lake County, just a quick background on the district, and then we'll get into the report itself. So the Lake County Air Quality Management District is an agency that's mandated by state and federal law, basically to regulate air quality and air pollution control measures within the Lake County Air Basin. Our air basin is also our district, which is also the county boundary. So we have kind of a 3-level, we're a local agency and a regional agency all in one, because our region is the county as well. Some air districts cover 3 counties, 5 counties, 7 counties. So we just have an air basin that just has the one. So under California Health and Safety Code, the legislature, of course, declared that local and regional authorities have primary responsibility for control of air pollution within air basins. So that is really where we get our authority. That's the beginnings of the air district. So that's the real quick history of how we became an entity. So now the district manages many programs and regulates many sources of air pollution. We currently have almost 700 permitted sources within the county, plus we have burn programs and a lot of other programs that we deal with. The breadth of the district regulations is fairly significant, but we do, I skipped my line. So, but today we're here primarily to discuss the hotspots program. So hotspots is it's a report it's toxic emissions, hotspots in the communities. Historically, we haven't had sources that were hotspots, but with this most recent update, state has done a number of changes. So in 2024, diesel particulate and diesel emissions from diesel engines and generators was added to the program. So emissions inventory and toxics calculations on this report was added during that time period. And then just immediately prior to that, we had updates to the risk prioritization guidelines, which is how we calculate risk. So all those two things came together. And so this report in 2024, we went from not having any hotspots to now we have 9 of them. 3 of which are within the city of Clearlake. So that's why we come here today. So the issue that we have, of course, the 3 in the city, they are, basically they're generators. No other sources are considered a hotspot within the city. It's 3 generators and they are located at 3 pump stations for the sewer system. So, the sewer pumps and the generators and backups have been there for a long time. So the generators are a little older, and the issue, it's not how much they're used, it's the fact that they are older, so their emissions are higher. And now with the new risk calculation guidelines, those calculations have added some of those NOx and other things that are no longer part, or that weren't part of the program before. So risk has become higher, and we now have a few that need to be dealt with. So with that, the next steps, of course, with this program, now that we have 3 hotspots identified within the city, is we now work with that source. It's all the special districts to develop. There's 3 options. They can replace the shutdown, replace the engines, or come up with a risk reduction plan to reduce the toxic emissions from those generators. So that process is in play right now. We're working with them to try and come up with what is the plan for the future and when can it be implemented to, because generators are expensive, replacing is expensive. They can't shut it down because, of course, if you don't have power, then nothing pumps and we have bigger issues to deal with. So that plan is in place and it's being worked on, and we will, as soon as we have updates to what will happen and what the next steps are, we will be providing those and keeping the community updated. So with that's the quick summary of this, and I know there'll be questions, so that's why I'm kind of leaving that open a little bit, but
I have one to start with. You have, during power outages, there are numerous smaller pump stations, and they have a roving generator that at least the sanitary district does, to pump for a while and then they move on to another section. So how do you regulate those?
When we deal with those, we're getting all of those identified because it has been an issue between different agencies and different companies, and those roving portable ones are a little harder to track down. But what we end up doing is we take that engine, identify the usage, the hours, and we plot that with the closest proximity that it would be to any potential receptor. So residents or anything like that. So we use the worst case scenario when we do the calculation to determine what that potential risk is. And that way we can identify and start working from that point forward to come up with a plan to deal with it. So.
Anybody else in the council? Mr.
How many KW are those 3 generators each?
We have the KW. I have the horsepower rating.
All right.
So one's a 600 horsepower, one's 415 horsepower, and 380 horsepower. So they're fairly large. Yeah. So.
Those are the only things in the city, and
those are the only high risk ones in the city. So, and they're all 20 plus years old. So
I'm just glad you're not talking about anybody burning brush.
Yeah, that'll be a different meeting.
Any questions?
Yeah, so looking at the sheet, so these are the 3 in the city, but they also appear to be the 3 highest.
Yes.
So what direction are you going with working with them as far, are you doing like, you want it replaced in a certain amount of time, or you're giving them options, or how, are they just going to focus on the worst case ones first?
Well, the normal, I'll say that historically risk has been calculated based on a 70-year exposure. The newer updates, they changed that to 30 and they changed a bunch of the numbers and stuff. So 30-year exposure is where you get this risk of, and the highest one is 41 or 45 in a million. So we want them below 10. That's the requirement. So, you know, in terms of how high they are, you know, we've seen in other areas, people are in the thousands in a million. So we're not terrible, but it is high. The normal protocol would be within a year that have that in place and have those risk reductions being worked on. So whether that's filters being installed or hitting the budget and ordering equipment and having that, they have basically within a year it has to be.
And you would let them, if they like replace filters, you would let them do that and then check again and see if it brought it down to below 10 and then they'd be okay.
But this is all based on calculations. So the filters that they could put on, they are certified to a certain emission reduction level. And so we do the calculation based on that certification. So these engines, I mean, I don't remember what tier that first one is, the highest risk one is, but say it's a tier 2 engine, has a certain set emissions. This is the emissions of a tier 2 engine. So we do the calculation based on that worst case for it to be operating properly. So
I have one more question.
Yeah.
Do you regulate or inspect when underground tanks are being installed?
yes, sort of.
I guess that's why we had a little problem here in town.
most of the installation part of that would be an environmental health issue, but is this like gas station?
Yes.
Yeah. For gas stations, we permit the source, so they have to get a permit and we have to verify that whatever they're installing and everything they're doing meets the requirements of what's called an executive order from the state. So they certify a whole system, which includes tanks and all the equipment and all the controls and all the installation methods and testing and everything they have to do in order to install that and operate it. And we have to verify that they actually do that. So, yeah.
Back to those engines again. So even with filtration, they still would not meet the requirement and need to be replaced? I understand.
Some may or may not. So we do the calculate. They would propose that here's what we want to do, and then we will redo the calculation based on what they are proposing to do. So we'll do an evaluation of what their proposal is to determine whether it meets the requirement or doesn't meet the requirement.
Have they done that proposal yet?
Not yet. They're still working on that. So
When did you ask for it?
right before the spill happened. So they've been a little occupied, but they are working with us, and we have started receiving information. So we're getting that
Thank you.
interaction going.
All right.
Well, a couple of things I wanted to bring up or ask Mr. Gerhart. So related to special districts, I understand that they were issued 2 notices of violations in 2023 related to, I think, odor control systems at some of the pump stations. Have those issues been resolved at this point, or what's the process on that?
That is, it's in process, but in the last 3 to 6 months, we have seen a lot more movement toward getting that resolved. So we are now, they're in the permitting process with us to actually figure out if their equipment can be permitted properly, if it meets all the requirements of odor controls. And we just actually went down and did an inspection on both of them right before this meeting. So one was good and one we could smell. So we're still working through those issues and trying to evaluate the equipment. We don't have complete information on the odor control systems, but they've changed a couple times actually since 2023. So, but like I said, in recent months, we have had a lot more progress being made. So,
Well, thank you for that. So, I mean, is there anything that, I think it's quite frequent that, there is odor coming from at least 2 of the lift stations. Is there anything the city can do or the community can do to communicate with you or respond in a way that might encourage actual compliance?
yeah. In terms of encouraging actual compliance, I'm not sure, but we go long periods without actually hearing from the community. So, if it's a complaint here, if it's a complaint about burning or smoke or whatever, we need to actually hear that from the person who's experiencing it so that we understand what's happening in the neighborhood and what the issue is. So when we're going months or years without hearing anything, it's hard for us to know that there's still an issue going on. So if there's an issue going on, we appreciate hearing about it. And I know with the sewer, I spent quite a few years working on it with the first round and the bioways and the first, from 2003 to basically 2015. There was a lot of activity with us being involved in that. So keeping logs of when it smells so that we know which way the wind's blowing, we can track back and what's happening at the time. That helps us too, and providing those to us. The more detail we get, the better it is, and the more we can actually do to try and solve those problems.
So is the best way to share information to call your office or send an email or what?
Yeah. Call the office, and if nothing else, leave a message for us and we'll document, and then we'll call you back for more details. So that's the best way at the moment. If we're available, we'll answer, and we do take the complaints right away. So.
And that phone number is 707-263-7000?
Yes. And that call day or night, there's always a voicemail. So that's what I say, leave a voicemail, even if it's happening at midnight.
I'd like to report some smell on this one right down here yesterday.
Yeah, we were just down there a few minutes ago, so.
Did you smell it?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so one other thing I wanted to bring up, and thought this might be a good time to just bring it up and see if you had any response, but my understanding is that with the district, the city itself, or both cities actually, there is a process, a pathway for cities to have representation on the board of directors of the air quality district, which currently is the board of directors of that district is just the board of supervisors. Is that correct, or?
That's correct. Yeah, many air districts do have city representation on it. There's a certain threshold where it becomes a requirement, but whether you meet that threshold or not, there is always, it is under health and safety code a possibility, but that would be a discussion with the council and the board to discuss. So.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, I mean, so I think along that line, if that's something you want us to look into and to pursue, some consensus around that would be appropriate, and we could start discussing further with Mr. Gerhardt.
Council, have any suggestions or any consensus on that?
As a resident of the city of Clearlake, we smell those stations every day. Depending what time you drive by, you're gonna smell it. So I think for the city to have a seat would be incredible. Because I know the last time that someone from special districts came about inquiring a lot to put in a new pump station, we were assured that, they were doing everything that was needed and that she fixed the problem over here, and it wasn't the case. So I think that'd be great.
Do we have a consensus on that?
I think we have a consensus on that.
We have a consensus on that. Thank you. Have any, did you finish your presentation?
Yep. I'd be happy to come back anytime you need me.
If anybody from the public wants to comment on this? If not, of course. Go ahead, Margaret.
Thanks, Doug.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Margaret Garcia, City of Clear Lake. I was just wondering if you possibly could just say where these stations are located in the city and how much more people are affected, maybe that live near those areas. And what is how is this going to be handled as far as they'll report back, I guess, to you? I know you guys can't answer me, but I was just wondering maybe a little more information about that.
Okay, may I suggest that if you look at the agenda, it's online, and there's a report that these gentlemen prepared, and you can see it online.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I could add, Mr. Mayor, the first part of the question, just the location of the two that have frequently had problems with the odor control system is there's one near the new housing complex over by the senior center on Burns Valley Road. You can see the fence and some equipment there. And then the other one is over here on the lakeside across from what used to be Main Street Bar and Grill, Delicious Alvarez Restaurant.
Thank you.
I appreciate you taking the time to address my question.
Thank you.
Yeah, not you.
Okay. Any more comments from the public? Anybody on Zoom, Madam Clerk?
There are no comments on the Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you for the report. We'll go now to item number 6 on the agenda. Introduction of the first discussion and consideration of ordinance 286-2026, amending section 6-10-11 of the Clearlake Municipal Code regarding tobacco retail licensing fee collection. Mr. Flora.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, council members, so this is, should be a pretty simple fix. In 2024, the city adopted an ordinance which required licensing of tobacco retailers in the city. And this was done as a coordinated effort with the city of Lakeport and the county. And those of you who've been on the council for a while recall that there's been a number of presentations over the years about doing this, and we all worked together eventually to do that. And just to remind you a little bit about the ordinance, the way we had it set up was that the intent was to have the county do the enforcement and administration, all the inspections, all that type of stuff. But there is a provision in there that if the city at some future time decided that we wanted to run the program ourselves, that we could essentially, take that back from the county and just administer it internally. So over the last year or so, this is coming out of public health. They have been, having communication and different workshops and things with the tobacco retailers explaining what's coming, but they haven't really been doing the enforcement side of things. They're ready to start doing that now, charging fees. We discovered that the ordinance that we had adopted actually requires the city to adopt the fee and update it. And I think from a practical perspective moving forward, it makes a lot more sense for us to rely on the county's fee schedule that they do every year, and us not have to each year track that and keep updating and adopting it as needed. And so there's a slight change. This ordinance amendment includes a slight change that still has that language in there, but says pursuant to an MOU with the county that they would be able to go ahead and adopt any changes to the fees on their own. So what we're asking is the council to adopt this ordinance amendment, making that slight change, and move forward with the MOU with the county to get this program rolling.
Any questions, staff?
No.
If not, anybody from the public wants to comment on this? Come on. Do you have anything to say? No? We don't have any questions. Anybody on Zoom, Madam Clerk? Mr. Sabatier, did you have any comments?
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, council members. Bruno Sabatier, City of Clearlake. I just want to say how important this is to be able to have access to the city to check in on tobacco retail licensees. The work that has been done so far in the county is both amazing and traumatic all at the same time, but it proves why there's such a need to do this type of work. And so having this MOU to giving public health or health services the access to the city and the retailers is going to be a great step towards making sure that people are following the rules and also keeping our youth as safe as possible. So looking forward to you guys passing this.
Thank you.
But to follow up on that real quick, Mr. Mayor, I mean, I had the opportunity to talk to Ms. Francis the other day and saw some pictures. The state came in and actually did some enforcement actions at a few places throughout the county, including a couple of locations in Clearlake. And I would describe it as massive quantities of illegal product was seized as part of those operations. So there's a lot that needs to be done around.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, any more public comment? If not, anybody on Zoom, Madam Clerk?
There are no comments on the Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
Can I have a motion?
Okay. Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt, to adopt ordinance number 286-2026, which is the first reading of ordinance number 286/2026, amending section 6-10.111 of the city municipal code regarding tobacco retail licensing, and read by title only. Waive the further reading and set second reading and adoption for the next city council meeting, and authorize the city manager to execute on an MOU with the county administration of the program.
Can I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right.
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
All right, go to item number 7, provide update on the 2026 Robin Lane sewer spill. Mr. Flora.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Mayor, council members, just a few updates, and then I don't know if you have any questions. Still continuing with the installation process. We've ordered the extra systems that were requested by property owners out there. We have sort of adjusted the structure of the incident, hasn't changed. The incident management team is still in place. We have shifted a few responsibilities around a little bit because really right now we're just more in a coordination phase and making sure that the contractors have what they need. They're getting paid, and the environmental health is coordinating the post-testing of the systems. We are, there's a little bit of a vacuum, it feels like, on information from some folks that's being shared after the systems are installed, the folks are curious about. So we need to do a little bit more communication around some of those things, but the regular and consistent testing protocol of wells that was being done for a significant period of time is not happening in that way anymore. We're really doing testing for turbidity, iron, manganese, those type of things from the well going into the UV filtration system. And then we're testing post the UV filtration system for total coliform and E. coli to make sure that those systems are operating as intended. This has identified that there are a significant number of wells in the area that have, I guess, suffered from a variety of other water quality problems that are not related to the sewer spill. The homeowners may or may not have been aware of. Some of those issues have the potential to impact the frequency of maintenance needed on the system. But those were pre-existing conditions, and that type of resolution to those issues is going to be the responsibility of the individual property owners. So we still have a few weeks left of completing the installations. It looks like those are moving along. It's definitely been a few more challenges just with individual situations with property owners and how they have their system set up that has not allowed us to be as efficient as we had originally intended. But we certainly are making progress. So with that, I will try to address any questions that council has.
Anybody? Any questions?
No.
Anybody from the public that wants to comment on that? If not, anybody on Zoom, Madam Clerk?
There are no comments on the Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for the update. Go now to item number 8, discussion and consideration of a joint letter advocating for opportunity zone selection, recommending approval. Mr. Flora.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, council member. So refresher on opportunity zones. This was initially started by the first Trump administration. And hopefully you had a chance to look at some of either the links or I think the presentation that the county put together that's attached to the staff report. This is a way for investors in distressed communities to receive tax benefits essentially on that investment. So when this happened the first time, there were 3 of our census tracts that were identified as opportunity zone in the city. And I think that may have happened back when Supervisor Sabatier was on the city council. I would say from our economic development efforts, it does attract interest. We haven't had any developers take advantage of the designation itself up to this point that I'm aware of. We don't always have well, a lot of investments that have happened here up to this point haven't been very large scale, and developers that do larger investments are a little bit more sophisticated in this type of thing. So it's much more common in larger markets for this to happen, but it is something that's available. So this Trump administration is now making some updates to the program, what they're calling Opportunity Zones 2.0. And there is the chance for additional census tracts to be included as opportunity zones. So there is an eligibility criteria. There's the 3 that are in right now. I think there's a total of 9 in Lake County that are potentially eligible. 2 additional ones in the city of Clearlake. And then a 1 kind of in the Kelseyville area, 1 on the North Shore, and then Lakeport, portion of Lakeport. So the county, okay, so the sort of one of the next phases of the process is the governor of each state gets to provide recommendations to the federal government on which ones can be included. That's going to happen later this summer. And while there isn't a formal process, as far as I understand, to engage on that, the county decided that it would be best to send a letter to the governor requesting certain census tracts be included. And they also thought that it may be stronger if there was agreement between the 2 cities as well, issue a joint letter to the governor around this. So Lakeport City Manager and Deputy County Administrator for Economic Development at the county, we had some discussions about prioritization, and that is outlined in the letter that we have. So one of the census tracts in the city is kind of out on the north end of town. That's mostly a residential area. We were just looking at our annexation workshop about some of that. I don't see a significant likelihood of any large scale development in that area, so that is a lower priority. However, the census tract that hasn't been included up to this point but is eligible is that one that covers the area that we just talked about, potentially annexing into the city. We know that there's the potential for some larger investment there. And so that one has been included on the priority list, as well as the one that covers Lakeport. So anyway, I try to address any questions you may have about the process, but at this point, the county has approved this joint letter. I believe the city of Lakeport did at their meeting earlier this week. And so with your approval, the mayors and the chair of the Board of Supervisors would be authorized to sign.
Okay. So these are census tract 2, is it 801, 802, and 703? That's going to be part of the city?
Those already are. So we
704
would be asking them to continue to be included, and then the one to the north.
That's the 704.
I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I could pull up the map if necessary.
Okay.
No, it's not necessary, but curious.
Any questions in the meantime?
I don't have any questions, but I think any additional benefits we can give to
Yeah. 'Cause
anybody wanting to come in and build, we should take advantage of it.
As do I. Councilwoman Wilson.
Agree as well.
Councilman Kramer, any? Oh,
You just turned.
I agree.
So do we need
We should see if there's any public input.
any public comment on this item?
Margaret Garcia, City of Clear Lake. I'm just curious if this is so that it's going to attract, in other words, businesses or developers to invest in areas that are in this tract, these tracts. And so I'm just wondering how that may differ from the whole 18th Avenue project and how that project we were trying to also, I think, attract big anchor kind of outfit that would be there. Is that thing just in the wind as far as any potential completion of that 18th Avenue project? And is this similar to that, trying to, attract developers and whatnot? Because I know that the whole CEQA and all of those things get all mixed in there and then nothing goes anywhere. So I'm just curious on that, if it's similar in nature. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you like me to
Yes, please.
address that? Well, the project at the redevelopment at the airport would certainly be a project that I would think would be of interest of an investor in using opportunity zone designation that is in the zone currently. So yeah, I think that would be an attractive piece of it. This isn't related to any delays. Ms. Garcia mentioned CEQA, which is a long and often frustrating process, which is ongoing, but it is what has delayed the project up to this point. But it's still in the works, and we still have every intention of getting the CEQA document complete and move forward. But yes, that and other large projects, I think, are likely more interesting to investors if they can take advantage of this designation.
So how do investors find out about these opportunity zones? And do cities ever, or do any government agencies ever put out marketing or something on opportunity zones?
Well, in marketing pieces that we've put out to investors on some of our key projects over the years, we always include that it is in an opportunity zone. But we found that folks out there looking that are sophisticated, they're used to, there's a number of maps and resources that are available through a number of trade groups. And there's websites and different things. And these folks actually look for places like that. Essentially, you can defer. This is a somewhat simplistic explanation of it, but you can, if you keep your investment into a project for at least 10 years, you get to defer capital gains tax on that entire investment forever. And so it can be very significant on large development.
All right, opening to the public. Anybody want? Nope, we're still in public. We'll close the public hearing. Unless there was somebody on Zoom, Madam Clerk.
There are no comments on the Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
We'll bring it back to the council. Can we have a action? Approve the
Yes.
joint letter and authorize the mayor to sign.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to approve the joint letter advocating for opportunity zones selection and authorize you as mayor to sign.
I'll second it.
Somehow it came. Voting just seems to be. Oh, there we go. Okay, we'll go to item number.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
Thank you. Number 9, discussion and consideration of an update to the council norm and procedures. Mr. Flora.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, council members. So the last time the council norms and procedures were updated was 2024. There's a few things that are proposed here kind of related to clarifying roles and responsibilities in the council manager form of government, which we operate under. Most of this stuff, you know, I don't really think that there's anything in here that's a departure from the way that we've intended to do business. It is just providing some detail around that more than we had before. So we're able to utilize some examples from some other jurisdictions out there and try to kind of incorporate this and make our norms and procedures a little bit more comprehensive. So with that, I would just address any questions.
Okay, do we have any questions from staff? Anybody? Okay, I open to the public. Anybody from the public has a comment on that? If not, is there anybody on Zoom?
There are no comments. There are no comments on the Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, can we have, bring it back to the council? Can we have a motion to update the council norm and procedures?
I move that we update the council norms and procedures as stated in the agenda.
Okay. I have a second by
second.
Councilman Raymond and a motion by Councilwoman Wilson. All right. Vote. Vote. Madam Clerk.
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
Okay, we'll go to city manager's report.
Okay, just a few things. The 36th Avenue infrastructure project is out to bid, as well as the Dam Road Roundabout also out to bid. So excited to finally get those going. So hoping that we still have time in this season to get some competitive bidding action there. Other road things. So our Olympic Drive, Burns Valley Road, Arrowhead Road project, which is approved sometime back. I don't know that we have a firm date on construction starting, but our pre-bid meeting's coming up in a couple of weeks. So we expect, especially if the weather holds, that one should be starting quite soon, which would be wonderful. And then the last thing, we're continuing to work on the street lighting project. We had another update from them today. We're working with our municipal finance advisor on options for the council around this for funding additional street lights and the acquisition of PG&E's lights. So I just wanted to give a brief update on that. And that's all I got.
All right, Councilman Booton.
I do have an update. Yesterday, I attended the Abandoned Vehicle Abatement Committee meeting in Lakeport. Everyone shared their first quarter updates. The city of Lakeport, Lake County, and then the city of Clearlake are who are at the table. Stats that were shared was the city of Lakeport abated 2 vehicles, while the city of Clearlake abated 100.
That's important because
and
that's how we get funded.
This is a common trend at the meetings. We definitely are up there. The county in a whole abated 173. And then they also discussed in the future a vehicle amnesty day for Lake County. This is an idea brought to the committee by the city of Clearlake, and it will provide a day and a location for people to come and drop off their junked vehicles for surrender. The CHP and DMV will participate to streamline the removal of VINs from the DMV's database. I think this is a good event and I'm excited for it. Help us get these vehicles surrendered before they end up dumped. This is something in like maybe next year, so, but it's something I wanted to share.
Sounds good. Councilwoman Wilson.
So last week, Friday, city manager Alan Flora and I attended the the Redwood Empire Division's League of Cities meeting in Ukiah. There was before the meeting, we had the legislative committee reports and looked at a number of bills that the League of City members all I'm sorry, I'm looking at a particular bill that we approved that League of Cities support. And then, we got a reports from, Assembly Member, Rogers and from, Mike McGuire, who spent some time talking about our problem in the city. There was some presentations, around, the guide to Proposition 4, which, is extensive, and I, urge folks to look at because it has a lot of, possible funding for, city projects, and that we had a little bit of discussion about possibly looking at the, groundwater sustainability, funding and see if that would help the city itself. And then there were, updates by, different, cities, and, let's see, some highlights. There's a fire academy in Willits. There's, oh, there was some concern about up to 3 million people may lose their health care by 2027 in the state, and, up to 12 hospitals may close. And 50% of the children in California are on Medi-Cal, which, we're in danger of losing. And, Cal Poly has just added a, 30,000 square foot, facility on healthcare. And that's enough.
Councilman Kramer.
Leave it on when it should be off and turn it off when it should be on. I met with Jennifer Brennan last week. She's with, NREN, Northern Rural Energy Network, I think was the acronym. Discussing different programs that they're going to be offering for, I think, businesses primarily that would help with their energy consumption and perhaps reducing their energy costs. And then I also, along with Supervisor Sabatier and I met as Red Bud Fire Safe Council with Lake County Fire Safe Council and RCD, Julia Sullivan and John Vandervoort, to discuss ways in which Lake County Fire Safe Council can possibly help Red Bud Fire Safe to get started on a number of things. Supervisor Sabatier also shared with me today or yesterday our new logo, which I think is fantastic. So we'll be starting to display that more often and trying to get some education programs out there in our community. And Red Bud Fire Safe Council, for your information, in case you've forgotten, covers the area, the footprint of the Lake County Fire Protection District. And that's all I have. You could do over.
I'm not a do-over, it's just to add to. So I also met with, Jennifer Brennan, at the college, and she has a program that she wants to put forth to do some, education to train people in the area on putting in, a very, energy efficient, mini splits. If I missed anything on that? No.
Yeah, no, she talked to you about that. What she was talking about to me was slightly different, but yes, the mini splits were a big part of that.
So the, idea is that there possibly be a relationship between them and the college to, bring, more job training to the area.
Okay. All right, I intended a workshop kind of thing at the Hope Center for their expansion. It was a very decent turnout. I also attended the Lake Rec Committee meeting on the 12th. We just kind of still going along and talked about the next time we kind of compare what all programs for recreation are available in the county, including the majority of which are in Clearlake. We have also attended yesterday the LAFCO meeting, mostly approving budgets and things like that, but the big thing was to make us all aware of Lake 2050, the general plan update. So we will be looking into that in the future. That's my report. Any future agenda items? If not, we adjourn to closed session.